Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. This is our second webinar of our Learning Lounge series, right? We did our first one in November last year. So my name is Priscillia, and I'm the head of DES International. Let me introduce my colleagues with me. So I have Dr. Catherine. So she is our senior specialist teacher at the DES International, as well as the adjunct lecturer with the DES Academy, right?
Yep.
And then this is Shilpa. So Shilpa is our senior specialist teacher, as well as the adjunct lecturer with the DES Academy. And then this is Gladys. So Gladys is our senior educational therapist at the DAS, as well as the senior specialist teacher at DES International. So this afternoon's webinar is for our educators and parents of international school students who are exploring how one-on-one educational support can help their students to strive. So whether or not they have a diagnosis or a learning difficulty. So let me first introduce or give a background of the DES International. We are a wholly owned subsidiary of the Dyslexia Association of Singapore. So we were set up to extend the DAS expertise to one-on-one specialist teaching to not only local students, but also international school students. So maybe some of you may know, nearly half of the students that we are supporting at DES International actually come from international schools, whether they are based in Singapore or overseas. So our mission is very simple, but purposeful. It is to provide high quality evidence-based specialist teaching that helps students to close learning gaps, build confidence, and succeed academically, regardless of where they are educated or how they learn. So some students come to us with diagnoses such as dyslexia, ADHD, dysgraphia. Some of them may not have a diagnosis, but they're struggling due to curriculum transitions or language demands or even gaps in foundational skills. So at DES International, our core focus is individualized instructions. So we recognize that no two learners are the same. Right? Each students come from unique learning profiles, which is shaped by their language background, their curriculum exposure, their history, their emotional experiences. So rather than fitting the students into a fixed program, we design our instructions around the child. So we use what is called the individualized education plan to cater to every child's unique strengths and areas of needs, with the aim to bridge any learning gaps while caring for their emotional well-being. So a brief overview of what this IEP is all about. So this individualized education plan is personalized plan developed to support students' unique learning profile. We will start off by, assessing the child's needs through formal, informal assessments, observations, students' work analysis, and then we work with the parents, the schools in planning realistic and meaningful goals together, whether or not it is academically or non-academically. And then we implement the intervention strategies in the classroom, and we work very closely with the child. In the meantime, we also keep in communication with the parents and sometimes with the school. And then at the same time, we will track their progress and evaluate the effectiveness and the outcomes of the child. So at the DES International, we develop IEPs not only for students with diagnosis, but also for students who need structured academic support to meet their goals in school. So our specialist teachers are in fact familiar with international school curriculum like the IB or the IGCSE. They are specialized in creating IEPs for each learner to close their learning gaps based on the curriculum expectations. So that is the reason why I have invited Shilpa, I have invited Gladys, I've invited Catherine here with me today to share with you their experiences working with international school students. All right, so without further ado, let's delve in the first thing that we wanna, the first question that we wanna answer. And we will start with Gladys first. So Gladys, you provide English literacy support to a range of students, right? So how closely do you follow the IEP framework as you work with your students?
Yes, very, very closely. I work mainly with younger students in IB schools, kindergarten through early primary school. And at this stage, collaboration is essential because we often find ourselves addressing foundational gaps that can compound quickly if left unaddressed. After my initial lessons with the newly enrolled student, I will speak with the parents and ask them to request a Zoom meeting with the school. This will usually includes the form teacher, the learning support team, and many other professionals involved, such as a speech and language therapies or I'm sorry, I can't say this out, but occupational therapy.
That's quite a mouthful, yes.
This helps us understand the child's needs fully and plan a realistic timeline for the IEP. It also means we're all focusing on the same priorities, whether it's comprehension, spelling, writing, or rather than working at cross purposes. So when this collaboration is strong, progress really does come faster. It's not unusual to see a young child go from being a non-reader to asking for permission to read at breakfast within 3 to 4 months.
Right, yes.
That's lovely.
Yeah, it's lovely. So I think that's one of your success stories, right? So maybe you can share about how you work closely with the parents and the schools and some of the success stories of your students.
Right. With once a week intervention, progress can generally be expected within 6 to 8 months, provided the child isn't under stress, is attentive, and is willing to engage. So let me share you 2 examples. Ella, she was in her second year of kindergarten, a non-reader with a very strong task avoidance. We had to coax her gradually, starting with single letter formation. And after 5 months, she was reading, writing, spelling simple 3-letter words like cat and sit, and beginning to attempt to blend. Then there's Shah, a grade 2 student around 7 years old, who refused to read anything except dogmen books. So after 3 months, his parents were pleasantly surprised when he started asking for permission to read after breakfast.
Oh.
So this kind of progress is not only possible when parents and teachers work tirelessly together. It does take a village. Yeah?
That's right. That's right. Yes. Yeah. It does take a village to support a child, especially, for a non-reader with extremely low confidence, like the one that you have just mentioned. So the lessons that you have provided at DES International are face-to-face physical classes, right? So we also provide online support to international school students who are based overseas. So Shilpa, you do have quite a bit of experience in that, right? You have been providing some online support to such students. So can you share your experience?
That's right, Priscillia. I do provide online as well as face-to-face. But yes, my online sessions, like I support students from Indonesia, Brunei, India, Vietnam, Turkey, all the way from US. And so, we manage the timings and everything. So when it comes to online sessions, it's very important to communicate with the teachers overseas. What I mean here, we always have to communicate with teachers, but when it is online, so I have to do an extra effort with that and understand their curriculum, depending on every school system and school policies. So some schools allow the external support teachers like us, DAS specialist teachers, to communicate directly with the teachers, which kind of makes it much easier for us to work in that tandem, to help the student.
Yeah.
Some schools prefer us to go through certain, proper channels and learning support heads, but that's fine. I mean, I do communicate with them to exchange information regarding their curriculum, because I teach from 7-year-olds to 16-year-olds. So it's a wide range of students. So many times I'm supporting for curriculum. So let me share with you about a student whom I worked with previously online.
Yeah.
So he's doing sessions with me for last couple of years. Grade 10. This year he'll be sitting for his IGCSE exams. Diagnosed with dyslexia, dyscalculia, and on the spectrum also. Struggles with conceptual understanding, focus, retention, knowledge application, weak retention actually.
Right.
So the area of focus was curriculum support. Initially it was literacy and math, but I ended up doing for multiple subjects.
Right.
That's specialist tutoring for you. So when I had a meeting with his parents and the boy, I found out that his passion was making short films. So I kind of developed the rapport speaking about it. Although I don't know ABCD of making films, but I did ask him questions. So students warm up basically. We have to make sure to do that, and then. Specialist teaching strategies I had to use with him, like mnemonics, more like graphic organizers, a lot of assistive technology because it's a curriculum support, right? I couldn't just stick to OG, although I saw the gaps with literacy, okay? And to develop that interest in learning the topics which he was struggling with. So he has managed to pass, they have mock exam prelims before finals. He did manage to pass some of the subjects, and which has definitely boosted his confidence. The interesting fact, I always find it funny actually that he's the one who messages me to remind me of the session, not me to him. So yeah. So but it shows that he's so motivated, and I think he's comfortable with our specialist teaching classes. So that's why he's doing that, obviously.
That's right. I'm sure he's enjoying your classes, so he doesn't want to miss anyone.
I think so, and I think he's seeing the benefit also.
Great, great. Yeah. So I'm also curious because this student you're working with, his family are also based overseas, right? We're so far away from Singapore. So how do you actually work with the parents then?
Okay, I do have the meeting like Gladys mentioned. We do have a Zoom meeting initial, and I immediately create a WhatsApp group with both the parents. And then I'll keep them updated, like what work I'm doing. Like I said to you before, like, the curriculum they may not be very familiar with, but it's always good to involve them so that they at least know what I have done and what work I have given him. And then they can kind of remind him at least. Yeah.
Right.
So I share IEP with them, have a short discussion, and if they have any queries, or if they have any suggestions. And it's always good to get the feedback from them on IEP. And then my mom will always share the work which he can find on school portal, because this, I must mention this, that we see that executive functioning also can be weak with some of our students. So organization is weak. So sometimes this child tells me, no, there is nothing on my school portal. So the mom helps me with that, and it really makes it easier for us.
That's right. That's right. And you can plan your lesson
definitely. And I can go according to his curriculum requirement.
Yeah. Right. So do you actually get to work with the student's school then?
I do, if and when allowed. Not every school will allow that. So just for a short, small example, I can give you about this student only. He had to prepare for a theory test for physical education. Again, that was a surprise to me. So then his physical education, I always thought it was only exercise and play. And then he said it's a theory exam. I said, oops, okay. And then it was about performance enhancing drugs. Okay, fine. So I had to ask his teacher. So then his teacher was really nice. He shared a video with all the info on the topic. Right. And then we went structurally, I helped him with mnemonics to retain, because too many words on the screen, it was making it difficult. So I taught him how we could tabulate the data, so it kind of went into chunks, and then bullet points and simple thing, color coding. So he passed his test, and I think I was equally happy as he was, because I had learned something as well. Right. And as I mentioned earlier, it depends on the school policy. You can't push it, but you have to just find out, and it's always easier to work together.
Yeah, of course. So sorry. So thanks for sharing. So I think it is in fact very important to keep our key stakeholders in the loop. So let's come back to our international school students in Singapore. So Catherine, you have supported and you have been supporting, right? International school students in Chinese. Can you share some of your experience?
Yes, sure. So we do work with a range of students. I choose this case to share because it's a good example of how we have the initial goals to work on the foundations, literacy foundations, and build confidence, with the ultimate goal that we enable the students access to their academic curriculum. Right. So this is a secondary 3 students with a diagnosis of dyslexia. So her work recognition is at the upper primary level. That actually she's not meaningfully access to her current academic curriculum. So she has a low confidence, and then very reluctant to speak in Chinese, and then a very limited motivation beyond the classroom studies. So at this point, the question is not how do we push her towards IGCSE content. The question was, what is preventing her from accessing the curriculum? So the answer is very clear. So it's the foundational instability. So instead of accelerating content, we stabilize the foundation first. We rebuilt the literacy foundations. We taught word recognition and spelling explicitly and systemically. Following OG principles, we adapted to our Chinese teaching. So rather than overwhelming the students with a great level vocabulary list, we narrow the focus on key vocabularies. And the second, we work on building oracies and confidence. So we use the curriculum level topics, not avoiding, the curriculum level topics, but support with our vocabularies and sentence structures. And she was allowed to use, first formulate ideas from English and then bridging them into simple Chinese sentences. So the goal was not perfection, is to help them find a way to use the language to communicate in a meaningful way. So as for progress, after about 15 times or 1 hour sessions, we began to see progress in her. So she changed. She became more willing to speak in Chinese, even if it's she expressed with a mixed code of English and Chinese. And recently, very happily to say that she achieved passing score in her writing assessment, which we never done before.
Yeah, that's something.
Wonderful. Yes. All right. So I also want to ask you a question, which is, how do you actually work with the parents? I mean, maybe you can also share in general, how do you work with them?
Yeah. So with new families, we start with the new families. So we always begin by developing an IP together. So I introduce myself and I send them a parent questionnaire. So through the questionnaires, we understand the child's strength, not only the challenges, their interests, their area of needs, and also to clarify the parents' goals, right? So parents are not just furthermore, the parents are not just involved in the planning; they are part of the IEP progress. So especially for younger students, including supporting revisions between sessions and encouraging the child to helping maintain the motivations, and we communicate regularly about the child on not only learning progress, but emotional well-being, classroom behaviors, and we have regular review meetings between IEP cycles. Yeah.
Right. So do you get to work with the schools?
Yes. But always with the parental consent, right? So we work with school. So mainly on the curriculum expectations, getting learning materials and their exam requirements and the specific learning challenges that the teacher feel like the child is facing, right? So this helps ensure that we support the students aligned and consistent across settings. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So thanks for sharing your experience, Catherine. So although all of you are specialist teachers, right, you're supporting students with different areas of focus, like, you have English, you have math, you have Chinese as well. So we also kind of differ in the way we communicate with parents and schools. We try to find all ways to communicate with them so that we ensure that we are all on the same page on the IEP process, right? And also ensuring that, the students' learning progress are closely monitored, and we can also adjust our support as and when it is needed.
Yeah.
So let's go on to the next question. All right. All right. So my next question to all of y'all here is, our students actually do come from different international schools. Each school follow their own curriculum and expectations. Some are following the IB program, like the PYP, MYP, the diploma program. Some follows the IGCSE, so on and so forth, right? So we have learners at very different starting points. Some of them are shaped by by the transitions that they're experiencing through the curriculums. Some are due to language demands or prior learning experiences. So how do we actually support them, given that they all have varied backgrounds, in terms of closing their learning gaps?
I think we really follow the 3 key steps. First, spark the child's interest. Secondly, apply the OG principles. And thirdly, introduce skills in a structured sequence. We always start where the child is. For some, that means going back to basics, right? Learning how sounds combine to form words. For others, it's working on skills that like breaking down longer words or understanding root words, the origin of it. I think the key is to monitor progress closely so that we can stretch the child at the right time, challenging them without overwhelming them. Right? What do you think, Catherine?
Yes, I agree with you, Gladys. So, especially about the importance of going back to the basics,
right? Yeah.
So, in the Singapore context, we know that Chinese program varies across schools. So, different schools follow different pathways. For example, many local international schools, like they often adopt the MOE mother tongue curriculums in primary years and middle years, and then they progress to IGCSE, IBDP path, right? So other international schools such as UWC, Tanglin Trust, Dulwich, and then their Chinese program generally follow the IB system, starting with PYP, MIP, and continue with IGCSE and IBDP courses at different levels. So other schools like American schools and Canadian schools, they have their own immersion Chinese program at the pre-kindergarten and the primary years, and a school-based program in middle years, and AT Chinese programs in the high school years. So yes, understanding the child's school program and the learning goals for is absolutely essential when we begin. However, so we often see is that many students who come to us has significant learning gaps relative to their current curriculum level. So before we can meaningfully work on the curriculum level materials, we need to first close those foundational gaps. So that's why we conduct formal or informal assessments. We look at the students' language levels, literacy achievements, and their relevant cognitive linguistic skills. In Chinese, there's orthographic awareness, morphological awareness, rapid naming speed, phonological awareness, and working memory. So this gives us a clear profile of the child where they are functioning. So, but there's something also important. Regardless of the program, the curriculum the students enroll in, the scope and sequence for building Chinese language competency remain fundamentally the same. So when we cross-check the students' informal assessment result, against the scope and sequence, and we gain clarity. So we can see where the gaps are, where to begin, and what to prioritize first.
Yes, Catherine, you're right, actually. And this is exactly what we do when we are teaching English literacy. Like Catherine was speaking about Chinese like the strategies, other than, of course, the way the script is. But yes, we have to use these strategies. Only a few things I would like to add here is that we observe the student's learning style. When the student first comes to us, initial that informal assessment and first few sessions, even before creating the IEP. So some students are like good auditory learners, some are visual, some are good kinesthetic learners. So we kind of base the lesson according to their learning style initially. Later, once they get used to the way we teach, slowly we kind of expand and we include everything. But initial stage, it is very important to make the child feel comfortable.
That's right.
Yes. And then I discuss like about students' interests. Do that informal assessment, as I said, with the parents, of course. The interests, parents can tell us more clearly. And then everything of all these facts are applied to IEP, including building the self-esteem.
That's right. That's right. It's not just identifying their learning gaps, but what they are good at, what they're interested in. These are also important information that we want to understand from the students, right? So I'm glad that we actually, we talked about closing foundational gaps. We also talk about tapping on the students' learning styles, their strengths, their interests. And Gladys mentioned OG principles, or Gillingham principles, right? So this is in fact the core of our practice. Because parents often ask us this next question, which is, how is our specialist teaching different from tuition? Gladys, you want to answer this?
Yes. At DAS, we use the Orton-Gillingham approach. It is an explicit, multisensory, structured, and sequential method for teaching literacy, originally developed for individuals with dyslexia. So it focuses on teaching the language structure, including the phonetic rules, patterns, using the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic techniques simultaneously. Lessons are diagnostic, prescriptive, meaning I assess as I teach and adjust based on what the child needs. This is very different from tuition centers where the focus is often covering syllabus content.
That's true. Yeah.
So, for example, a child might see a letter, say the sound aloud, trace it, and at the same time, all this helps the learning to stick. And this approach isn't just for dyslexia. It's also effective for ADHD, autism, dysgraphia, global development delays, to name a few.
Yeah. So you have actually here some of the samples of your students' work, right?
Yes.
So you can see how I can also actually observe how the OG principles are being applied in your teaching and the learning activities that your students are doing. What caught my attention is the one on the right. It's so interesting. I mean, I'm seeing Pokemon. How do you actually, what was this? What's the background of it? Maybe you can share more.
Yes, this is a very interesting 8-year-old boy who obviously has been to many tuition centers, private tutorings, but it's not showing, right?
Right.
So after the second lesson, I had a chat with parents and discovered that he actually loves Pokemon. So we decided to identify 26 characters from A to Z. And so P is for Pokemon, and actually it worked, because then we are able to proceed, to be able to do 3-letter words or whatever. It was a very interesting case.
Right. So
None
you
of the
basically
convention worked.
So you basically use all the Pokemon names as the keywords.
I had trouble.
You had to learn not just about the curriculum, but the Pokemon
on
names.
top of that, what was very interesting that he was actually able to write 2 to 3 sentences about the Pokemon monster, which is way above what my IEP is all about.
Well, see, sometimes capturing students' interest is so effective, right? Once their interest pick up, they are more motivated, and that's where you can see their progression.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yes. How about you, Shilpa?
Yeah. So how we are? That's where we are. Little bit different from the tuition centers. Like we focus on the weakness and the strengths of the student. And let me just give you an example which came to my mind while I was looking at this slide. So my PSLE student walked in, not PSLE, sorry, grade 6 student walked in and then said, I had planned a math lesson with according to how we were going structured. I learned ratio. I did understand a thing. That was the statement. I said, okay, the lesson plan goes in the dustbin. In specialist teaching, what we do is we bend and bow according to their needs. So that gap, I could see that there was a problem which he couldn't understand, and I went according to that. So what happens is we focus. That's why I said we focus on their learning style, their learning needs more than anything, and their interest and the gaps. So at the same time, we don't we teach them to ask why and how.
That's right.
Not only in math, in even literacy, why we are doing it, why we teach them the logic. fluid reasoning, basically,
Right, yeah.
and then not just what to teach what can be easier because it is more of a procedural thing, right?
That's right.
So we give that time, and that's how we create the interest. We start making them feel connected to the subject, or whatever they are learning. So I just strongly believe that literacy is the bedrock of all of the things they are learning. So for all the curriculum, because without the foundation for literacy, I don't think they can access subject-specific learning materials, because it facilitates reading, understanding. So what I feel is the comprehension, if it is weak, then it can affect, the literacy comprehension is weak. It can affect math, it can affect their analytical skills, which is integral part of learning. So especially in higher grades. So I think this is how the specialist teaching works. Being flexible. That's the beauty of specialist teaching.
Yeah, being flexible and also, focusing on building up the foundation for literacy.
Oh,
right?
definitely.
Yes. Yeah.
I agree with you, Shilpa. So I want to talk from the perspective of the Chinese language, right? So what truly set us apart from the general tuitions how we tailor our teachings to support the diverse background of the international students. It's whether you are our students are very diverse background, whether you're learning Chinese a native mother tongue language or heritage language, or just as a foreign language. So unlike tuitions, our sessions are diagnostic, strategic, and personalized. So designed to meet the students where they are, right? So more importantly, our ultimate goal is not simply to continue patch up the learning gaps, or create a long-term dependency on us, right? It is to build the students' awareness and their understanding of how they themselves learn, and to equip them with a comprehensive toolkit of strategies. And one day they can eventually walk away and use it independently. So as the old Chinese saying, so 授人以渔莫如授人以渔. So which means rather than give somebody a fish or a lot of fish, it is better to teach them how to fish. Yeah.
Right. Yes. I think it is actually the skills, right, that is important, because we teach them these skills and the strategies to overcome their difficulties so that, they are able to use them and apply them. And the effects of these strategies can even, last them a lifetime. So, building literacy foundation is not only for our students with dyslexia, right? It is also used for students who may be second language students, not just about Chinese language as a second language or whatsoever. We do have some international school students who are learning English as their foreign language or their second language, and this is also due to their backgrounds, right? Because we could, some of our international school students can be what we call the third culture kids. So what exactly are third culture kids? Let me just give a brief overview to benefit some of them who are curious about it. So third culture kids, they are children who grow up moving between different countries and culture. They often attend international schools. So while they are usually resilient and highly adaptable, and they can also be multilingual, but frequent transitions can also create hidden challenges, right? That changes in curriculum, language of instruction, social environment can also lead to learning gaps, especially in literacy. So at the same time, constant change can also affect the child's sense of stability and emotional well-being. So at DAS International, we do recognize that before learning can happen, children need to feel safe and understood as well. So that is why our specialist teaching focus not only on closing academic gaps, but also in providing stability, emotional support, and a more consistent learning structure that, our students can rely on.
That's right. Many of our students actually have moved between countries, school systems multiple times. So each move can mean a different curriculum, a different teaching style, or even a different language of instruction. These transitions create gaps that aren't always obvious at the start. Picture this, a 7-year-old girl standing frozen at the school gate, screaming, crying every morning. In class, she wouldn't engage with anything except the art class. She pushed her classmates away. This was Margie, Italian parents, born in Italy, preschool in Hanoi, and now suddenly in Singapore. 3 countries by the age of 7. So as a shadow teacher, I realized the academics had to wait, right? First, I needed her to feel safe. I took her to her first chicken rice. And this was a girl who only drank Italian sparkling water. And I guess that small amount mattered because it said this new place can feel like home to you. So third culture kids carry so much invisible weight. Before you can teach them, we need to reach them, right?
Totally agree.
So what I focus on is to giving them a stable foundation. So even when everything around them is changing, their literacy skills become something solid that they can actually rely on. What is your take, Shilpa?
I so agree because we all have come across these third culture kids.
Yeah.
And I would say like they are like on one side of that bridge, and they're trying to cross that bridge, and that's exactly where we help them. We make them feel confident and comfortable in the new environment. So just if you imagine a student of a particular nationality who is more comfortable with his or own or her or the mother tongue, and has very little English speaking background, moves to an international school in Singapore where the medium of instruction is in English, and generally people speak English. Totally, there are going to be multiple hurdles faced by that student, which will include what? First is communication, adapting to this new culture. If he is a teenager, peer pressure. To belong,
True.
And then above all is to perform at grade level, So there can be a lot of issues here. Like they may be embarrassed to ask questions in a classroom full of students because they're not confident about their language and knowledge, and that will impact their academic performance. That will put them off, demotivate them. Then they will not put in effort again. It will impact their performance. So it's a vicious cycle.
That's right.
And with specialist teaching, what we do is exactly what we try, and I think we can achieve is break that vicious cycle.
True. Yeah.
So here is an example. This student, 15-year-old girl who with a mixed parentage, who moved to Singapore after spending her earlier years in various countries, and then she was like, it's actually the letter which is on the slide. This is the slide which shows that she gave me this handwritten letter before she left Singapore.
Oh, that's so sweet of her.
Yes, and she was diagnosed with dyslexia, dysgraphia, and she was finding it difficult to adjust to new environment, and the curriculum, of course. What was the worst thing that happened was she was ungraded in her first math test. For a teenager, that's almost like not belonging.
That's right.
Sometimes they can handle fail, but they cannot handle ungraded. And that kind of put her off completely. So we did intensive specialist teaching, which I think helped her to gain back her confidence. And the next test, she scored 67%, which definitely brought her self-esteem from year to year. I could see that. And of course, I even helped her in various other subjects. Even with chemistry, I had to recall my own knowledge. You know what? Here, I would like to mention this. I'm sure all of us have experienced. They can come to us with very different difficulties, which we are not familiar with. But we cannot say that I don't know this.
That's right.
A specialist teacher will say, okay, let's work together on it.
Right.
So that's the strategy we always use. And the girl has moved to another country. After 8 months, they moved. And she messaged me and she said, I have adapted quite well. I'm okay. I'm not worried anymore. That's it. I think that's wonderful.
That's
outcome
right,
of a specialist teaching.
Yeah, I'm glad that you have made such a positive impact on these students. Right. Okay. So I think our one-on-one sessions do provide a safe space, right, for the child where they are able to ask questions, express themselves, learn without fear or pressure. And it is also important to remember that it is not just the children who are facing the stress, right? Parents actually face the stress as well. So, it's like moving between countries, trying to navigate new schools, different international curricula, supporting the child through the transitions can be overwhelming for parents, right? So at DAS International, we support parents with guidance, with updates, with strategies as well, so that both the child and the parent feel understood and empowered, right?
Thank you, Priscillia, for saying that aloud. So I really resonate with you that about the emotional safeties, because that's what we often see exactly what many of our international families needs, feel and needs. So in one-to-one setting, of course, we're able to slow things down and really understand where the child is. Coming from linguistically, culturally, and emotionally.
Yeah.
But just as importantly, as Priscilla pointed out, we extend our support to the parents. So many parents feel unsure about how to help, especially when they're facing, the diagnosis. And especially the language of the school system is different from what they grown up with. And so we take time to explain what their child's, working on right now, why certain strategy are used, and how they can support learning at home in the ways that are realistic for the family. So for us, so one-to-one support is not just about a language instruction. It's about creating a safe and personalized, positive learning spaces. Both parents and the child feel understood, supported, and confident moving forward.
Yes, very well said, Catherine. So supporting both the child and the parents is the heart of what we do, right? When parents feel informed, they feel confident and well supported, their children can also engage more fully and make better progress, right? So this is also where, the IEP becomes so important, because our IEP process, the whole IEP cycle, as you can see in the slide here, ensures that the learning goals, the progress, the strategies are clearly communicated with parents when possible, also with the school, right? So that everyone is aligned. So in this way, the child's learning, the confidence, the emotional well-being are all supported in a more coordinated and structured plan. So with that in mind, we often get a few recurring questions from parents about how our one-on-one specialist teaching works, right? So let's go through some of the top questions that we hear most often. So the first one is, how often are the lessons? Gladys, do you want to answer this? How often are the lessons?
Typically, once or twice a week, and we are flexible. It's all around the child's schedule. We offer packages of 10, 20, 30 lessons. I would recommend at least 10 as a starting point, as that gives us enough time to see some progress.
All right, okay. So yeah, I think 10, that's about over about 3 months or so, right?
Yes.
For them to actually view the progress. So, but then, that leads to the next question as well, right? So we also have parents asking like, so how many lessons does my child need to be able to read? You said 10, right? Is 10 enough?
Well, that really depends on the child. Okay? Some show faster progress with intensive support, while others need a long-term intervention. So there are many factors: the child's starting level, their interest in learning, and what's happening at home. Of course, it would be best if the child comes every day for lessons, and that will show a much faster progress too. However, we all know that every child's journey looks different. So I'm careful not to give a fixed number, but with constant support, strong collaboration, the child will definitely make progress.
That's true, yeah.
So I often tell the parents that learning Chinese, learning to read Chinese is not a short sprint, it's a marathon. So Chinese learning developments, literacy development generally, fair to say, is more complex than English literacy developments. It typically takes a longer period of time to build a strong foundation skills, regardless where the child has specific learning difficulties or, just general learners. Okay, so this is especially true in the Singapore language context. So, but that is not to say that we don't see improvement in the early stages. So in the early stage of intervention, what we usually see first is a change in child's attitude and, more than immediate academic results. So they start showing more interest. They're more confident, and they're generally more willing to use the language in their daily life. So when we talk about significant academic improvements, such as a much stronger word recognition, reading fluency, writing, reading comprehensions. Chinese generally take a long time to in most cases. So the process take more than a year, or they continue after a year. That's also not uncommon.
Yeah, true. So I think it really depends on the student as well, right? Different children, they have different profiles and they have different strengths and needs as well. Yeah. So let's go to the next question here, which is, what results can we expect? Yeah. Shilpa, do you want to try this?
Yeah, sure. Okay, let me put it in 3 points. Definitely the results which you can see is increased confidence, improved academic performance. I'm not saying they will go from 30% to 80%. No, it takes longer time, but and maybe 10 sessions, 20 sessions may not be enough. And I think that if the students are at a higher level, in high school or middle school, it's always preferable they do at least twice a week, because it keeps the continuity in what they are learning. I think it is applicable to even the younger ones.
That's true.
But if you are also doing curriculum support, it's always better. They do it little more frequently. Yeah, and the stronger independent learning skills, we make sure that they become independent. Because the tendency to be dependent can be there sometimes when there is a learning weakness. We all understand that, right, as humans. But so we teach them that, Catherine used the word, the toolkit, right? The strategy toolkit. That's what we hand over to them. We teach them how it is used and then become independent. So that can be done. Yeah. And all this can be tracked through the IEP. So yes, this can be the good outcome.
That's right.
But again, as you said, it depends on each child's ability.
That's true. So it's sometimes it's not just the academic results that we are looking at as well, right? Improvements in terms of the attitudes, the motivation, the interest, right? And then when they have greater confidence and better self-awareness, I think children will start to be more curious about the things that we learn. And this is actually, in fact, what we want to, work towards for the child as well.
Just to mention, one of my IGCSE students who sat for her exams in November, our DA student, she scored an A- in literature. And she's very dyslexic, mind you.
Wow.
So it
Congratulations
is possible.
to her.
It is very doable. That's what my take here is. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing, Catherine, Shilpa, and Gladys. So, and I would also like to thank our participants for joining us. I hope that this session answered your key questions and also gave you some insight into how DAS International can support your child's learning journey. We don't actually just support local students. As we have previously mentioned, nearly half of the students that we support at DAS International also come from international schools, whether they are based in Singapore or overseas. And of course, we still have some time. We will still stay online for a while to answer any final questions that you may have in the chat. We will be looking at the Q&A segment. So prior to that, I would like to ask our participants as well to scan the QR code and provide us with some feedback. If you do have any things that you hope that we can talk about in our next Learning Lounge webinar series, feel free to share that in our feedback form so that we can create more engaging sessions with all of you. So as just before we go into the Q&A session, I would like to also let everyone know that this Learning Lounge series, we are actually doing it in once every 2 months basis. So you will hear from us again, all right, for the upcoming webinar series. All right, so let me stop share and then we will have a look at the Q&A segment. Okay, so, all right, we do have some questions here. Okay, can everybody see it? Not really. Yeah, it's a little bit tiny. Okay, let me just have a look and then I will ask you the questions. Okay. So, all right. Well, the question here is, okay, do you use any ICT or software tools that follow the OG in your class? rooms. Someone would like to share first?
We do for literacy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, if we are talking about certain games like ICT based games, literacy games, remember I'm sure
Nessie.
Nessie is there.
Yeah.
I use Word Shark.
Mm.
Wonderful. That's one of the best games I have come across. And there is Pink Cat or something like that. Yeah, it's very nice. If you can also do some numbers things and word
Right.
things. Yes. So there are quite a few which, if you just go online and we can find those ICT based tools, many. Yeah.
Right, nice. I think I've seen the Pink Cat's website
Oh,
before.
very
It's
nice.
pretty
It's
engaging.
really, and my students love it. The
Right.
younger ones, they just love it. Yeah, yeah. And Word Wall, of course.
I
It's
think
one of the best.
I think for the younger children, the initial whatever phoneme I'm going to teach, I actually use it quite a bit to explain. Sometimes you explain too much, they look at you. So
Yes,
it's easier just to put the video on and right, this is correct, and
Totally
then it
agree.
goes on.
Right.
And that actually, I find it really useful. Yeah, and also to revisit or to work on, say, sight words, for example, the word wall.
Oh, your Word Wall.
My word wall is very
useful.
successful, where they go and
They love it.
press on it, and it actually worked very well.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I love
it's
it.
good. I don't know about Chinese. Do you?
Yeah, we use very often. Of course, we has to really in line with our goals, learning goals.
Yeah.
We use it appropriately, not just let the kids use it. So we have like what you mentioned, word wall, and Kahoot, Quizlets. We assign revision works through Quizlets and Brookits, and then we have like Chinese handwriting is a very important part of the training. So we have like scripters, so the Chinese
That's great.
handwriting trainings. Yeah. So yes, we do it often and try to do it most appropriately. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think because OG we involve that simultaneous multisensory,
Everything.
right? So the learning of the strokes, even
Yeah.
not just for the Chinese, but for the English letters, right? They need to learn how to trace it and then spell it out, and then learn how to blend and segment
Chinese
for
is
reading and spelling and
Yeah.
all. So I think actually ICT can actually be used, right?
definitely.
Yeah, which aligns that I mean, of course, we have to use it in a way that aligns with our goals, as what Catherine mentioned, and of course, bearing in mind the OG principles that we need to apply. Okay, so there's another question. How can you assess my child's learning needs if he does not have a diagnosis? If there's no site report for us to have a look at it, then how do we actually try and assess it?
Gladys, would you like to?
Right. I think for the younger children, what I tend to do is to have an informal assessment where we look at all parts, right? Whether it's academically, emotionally, physically, and all that. So I mean that's very, very holistic, because for younger children, they don't actually come in with any diagnosis, right? They are sort of up to like 7 years old, 6 years old before the actual test.
Yes.
So with that, we worked on their interest base, and I think we are with the OG principles, it's really very kinesthetic, very visual, very tactile. So it's a lot of, how shall I say, testing the ground, and of course, a lot of coordination and chats with the parents, the school teachers. They will be able to give us at least an overview of what the child actually can do or is good at, and will work with you. So yes, we do work without diagnostic assessments and stuff like that, even before the age of 6. Yeah, so we do in ST very difficult work because it takes quite some time to get into the child, especially when they're very young. So we may have to, seek a lot of assistance, quite frankly, and using the computer, using the whatever tools that we need. We will have to try and, get to this child and get him to work at least, That's for the younger children. What about the older ones?
The older ones, currently I have 2 students whose assessment report is not there, and they've almost finished 10 sessions. So what I did, just like you said, I had to do the informal assessment, and they do not speak English. So it's really a challenge, so I'm using, At times I use Google Translate, what they're saying, because I have to, because they are feeling very lost. I'm using a lot of drawing. They're big. One is secondary school student and one is starting P6.
Right.
And
I
really
see.
weak English background, because they are
That's
not, they
right.
don't come from English speaking background.
Mm.
So I have already created an IP looking at them. First 3 sessions I observed and I already created, because I can't wait for the
That's
proper
right.
assessment report to reach me, right?
Mm.
So we
Mm.
still do that. I mean, we use our own techniques and we observe the child. Like I said, we observe the learning style.
Right.
And I found
okay.
out one of them is so visual and it's working
Right.
with him.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That's great. That's great. How about you, Catherine? Do you have any experience
Well,
to share that?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do have a lot to share. I try to keep it short. So basically, we because the language in so for formal assessment for learning difficulties, specific learning difficulties, or for example, if there's dyslexia in Singapore, our diagnosis tool, standardized diagnosis tool, is English, right? So our kids,
True.
we always refer, if they have assessments, we always go look at the English assessments, but we not necessarily find enough information from there. So we do, our team, because we also have a lot of students in the group lessons. Over the years, we actually, in order to close the gap, we did a lot research in this area of informal assessment. So we do have some local like a local school standard, not really, in a like a formal, but quite standard literature, like
references.
And then we also developed to the Singapore language context, we developed the cognitive linguistics test. We in the process, we are very strong in this area. So I think we have quite a number of tools when the student come in. We do this, comprehensive cognitive linguistic error analysis beyond those, like a literature test, right? Reading, writing, reading comprehension, that kind of thing. So yeah, we do.
All right, thank you.
There is an OG toolkit, right?
Yes.
We all had, so
Yes, we do.
it can be used also.
Yeah.
For
I think it's just it's like an informal
it
assessment
is
in
totally
terms of
informal.
their,
Yeah.
to assess their basic literacy
Yes,
skills, right? The foundational skills that
Yeah.
build up the ability to read and write and spell, right? Okay, so I have one last question, which is okay, so my child is dyslexic and doing international IB program, all right, and she struggles with the subject English language and literature. So will our specialist teachers be able to support her?
Yeah.
I'm sure you have, right?
Elaborate.
So okay, so Shilpa is the teacher we can go to.
I've done quite a few now.
Right.
Like, once they start literature, like after grade 8, like they're already reading novels and poetry. And my 10th grader used to hate poetry. She had a collection of poetry which she had to, the one who passed out just now.
Yeah.
She used, the first statement would be, I don't know why he has written this poetry. I said, same here. The question is there, but now there is no point in analyzing that. We better analyze his poetry. What I use is, we literally go through every chapter or every poem, So I go like structured. That's where our structural analysis really helps.
Yeah.
Like theme, mood, what do you think? Why? And of course, I sometimes curse together with them. When they're angry, I said, yes, same thing. That helps. That helps. Yeah, because then they say, okay, she also
You
doesn't
share
like
the
it.
emotions with them.
Literally sharing emotions. And then I use flashcards or I create a PowerPoint. If there is Shakespeare, we all are dead. Let me be very honest. That language is so difficult for them. Can you imagine a dyslexic student going through that understanding? So what I started doing is many years ago, I would create the PowerPoint with the quotes. Not everything. So we would focus on something, teach the analysis, discuss with them, give context. And somehow my experience has been quite touchwood. It's quite good, I would say.
Great,
They pass. That's for sure. They pass.
Amazing.
Yeah. And we use a lot of Google Doc work. So when they type in, I can sit there and I can correct. I have done online sessions also with older ones. I think it all boils down to that you create the interest. You
True.
have to create the interest in
True.
them.
Yeah, and also making learning more structured, cumulative.
It has to be
right, and
structured,
very
yeah.
explicit, like how you mentioned about breaking it down for
Oh,
them,
yes.
in bite size, such that they are able to understand.
Yes.
And then you have flashcards for them
Yeah.
to help them retain information. So these are actually very
important.
very important
And-
strategies that they are actually learning from you as well.
Yes,
Right? So
yes,
that
they
next
do.
time they can apply the same kind of strategies.
Definitely.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So right. Okay. So I think we have come to the end of the session. So thank you very much for those of you who have stayed on to the end with us. So we do look forward to the next session with all of you. So it would come, all right, in at another. Oh, sorry, I think I have another question, but I think we will probably address that post the webinar. All right. So thank you very much, everybody, for your time, and then we will see you the next time at the Learning Lounge webinar series. All right. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.